Welcome to BIA, Canada's top black media provider. Whether you're looking for shows on fashion, art, music, or simple lifestyle, we bring you the best content the black community in Canada has to offer and so much more. And better yet, do you have an idea for a project you'd like us to help you with? We provide equipment, studio, and office space, as well as a team of dedicated individuals to help you bring those ideas to life. So don't wait. Check out our new website at biamedia.ca for more information on how to contact us and start creating today. BIA Media, your way.
Hello, and welcome to Getting Real with Paula. My name is Paula Alphonse, and tonight we are focusing on the brothers looking for long-lasting love. In fact, we are venturing into men's only zone with Stefania Puelo. As a love and relationship coach and the CEO and founder of the Gentleman's Square, Stefania has created a safe space for men to come together in brotherhood and learn how to work with and understand the female psychology, as well as learn how to deal with female energy. So, all of this, they're doing all of this to attract their ideal woman and build a long-lasting relationship with her. Have to admit, I am so very curious to hear more of what Stefania has to share with us. Therefore, let us just dive into this conversation. Good evening, Stefania, and welcome to Getting Real.
Good evening, Paula.
Good evening.
Nice
It's going to be so interesting. As I said, I am curious. To me, it sounds like such an exciting kind of job. So let's venture into it. To start off with, can I ask you to maybe share a bit of who you are and how you came to be identified as a men's love and relationship coach?
Okay, well, yes, I know it's quite a title, isn't it, for a female? I get questioned that all the time. In fact, if I get $1 for everyone that asks me, why do you do what you do? I would be very wealthy. So it goes back a long time ago, where I have many professions, and it's like a conjunction of a lot of things. But my first profession was I was a hairstylist. And during that time, I dealt with obviously both men and women because it was a unisex salon. And of course, you know what salons are like. It's the place of chit chat, conversation, lots of conversation, and lots of sharing. So as a hairstylist, we have this, I guess, magnetic effect on people because not only do we make them feel good, but we touch them. So it kind of breaks down a lot of, any kind of walls that people may have. They trust you. There's this very much trust-like and a know you factor. So they would come to me and share a lot of their relationship issues, particularly the women. But the men would also come, but in a different roundabout way. So a lot of the questions would, they would share their relationship challenges. Why do men do this? Why do men do that? Why don't men understand? If only they knew how we feel. I'm not sure if that sounds familiar to some ladies, but that was what I used to hear a lot of, right? Yeah. And so then from there, I also became a personal trainer, like in a gym. So I was working, well, actually, I left hairdressing and then went back to school and studied that as well as teaching. I actually taught in a university teaching English, but my main focus was the body and the mind. And that's where the coaching came into it. And of course, again, I dealt with a lot of ladies and I coached men as well. And the questions from the ladies seemed to be constantly the same. You know, why doesn't he understand me? If only he knew how I felt. How do I make him understand? And the men, on the other hand, it was really quite interesting. They weren't really sharing. They were doing the questions, like they were asking me questions, like specifically, Stefania, what do you think she's thinking? What should I do? You're a woman, you know. So I had this kind of conversation going on backwards and forwards with men. So initially I coached women. I did. I, thought, no, women is where I want to be. But when I did, work with women, I really felt that the men needed to know what the women were actually, craving for, what they felt was missing, what they wished that men knew automatically, which is a little bit selfish of us women. Must admit, I just, take responsibility of that. And I think I did that too in a lot of my own relationships. And men, I feel, are quite logic. It's and that's why I named my business the Gentleman Square, because the square identifies the man being very logical. If it fits in the square, well, then it's perfect. It's why should we move out of it? It's a bit metaphoric, but yeah, that's how it all started. So from the women, I then ventured out and said, I would really love to help the men understand women better and understand themselves in the process, obviously, too, but also understand female energy, to be able to tap into emotional intelligence, because women, that's all we crave, that connection. We crave that longing to talk, to share, whether it's could be, the shoes you bought or something you did that may sound really trivial to a man, but to a woman, she wants to be heard. And that's where all this, if brought together, can actually make men's lives a lot easier. So, yeah. So that's how I really came about saying, I really want to focus on working with men. Now, having said that, male-to-male therapy is great. I have nothing against it. I think it's fabulous and there is a place for it. But I come from a perspective from a woman. If you're going to want to know, I know growing up, I remember my big brother, he said to me, Stefania, you're getting on now and you're dating, and, he was giving me the big brother talk. He said, if you ever want to know anything, you ask a man. If you don't want to ask me, he goes, at least go to a man. Don't ask a woman. And it makes sense, because a man will tell you how a man thinks. A woman will tell you how a woman thinks. So I think that really stuck in my mind, and it really does make a lot of sense. Yeah. So that's pretty much my story.
It's interesting, and we have barely touched the surface. I know you've traveled extensively and lived in, if I'm not mistaken, 3 continents. Yes. And through your various travel, you kind of explored the cultural difference between men and women. Being a love and relationship coach now, then the question become for me, can you walk us through that inner journey that got you to select men are my target audience? This is why I feel should be my business lane.
Okay. Well, that's a really great question, because a lot of it has to do also with my own personal life. And of course, we always do where we feel we need therapy ourselves. They say your business is your therapy. Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree. So my journey, yes, I've lived in 3 different continents and I've traveled extensively. So in my journeys, I've also had, um, wonderful, amazing relationships, but haven't really worked either. So for me, it was wonderful because culturally I was learning about different cultures. Not only was I learning about the countries I was living in, but I was learning the interaction between men and women. And of course, I come from Australia, so I grew up in Australia, but in an Italian family. So it's pretty mixed up, right? It sounds really warped. So if you can imagine, at home, I lived like an Italian, a Sicilian, actually, to be quite honest, because they identify themselves a little separate to Italy, the rest of the mainland. And when I was out, I was more Australian to fit in with, the social, I guess, peer groups. So having moved around in the different countries, I really noticed that. And I noticed the interaction. I noticed the way women were treated by men and vice versa, how women treated men.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in that, I had my own experiences as well. And to me, I felt that if men really knew the true essence of a woman, because it doesn't matter whether you're from Asia or from America, from Europe, a woman is a woman, and we all have that beautiful feminine energy that we love, basking in it. We love to nurture and love everybody on most cases, and I speak from myself anyway. However, men struggled with that. And then if the culture part was, invoked, I feel that was also another mix.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because the world nowadays, and you probably agree with me, we're so connected. So even though, I mean, look at us, you're in Canada, I'm in Australia, I have friends in Africa, I have friends in Europe, I have friends in Asia, and people are dating, people are connecting, people are literally having relationships from other people in different continents. So what happened is now people have had to learn different people's cultures at the same time. So it's not only getting to know about the person and the personality and if you fit, but you have a culture that you have to, and a religion in some cases as well. So there's a lot mixed into that. But then, people are in that, I'm in love with him. I love him. I really want to be with him. But then you have the understanding of all the other different compartments come with the culture of being female or being male, of course.
Yeah. And I love the way you say this, because I remember when I was younger, my father said to me at one point that, the way a man treats his mother is usually the way he's going to treat his wife.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I haven't met his mother. Who cares? His mother is on the other part of the ocean. At this time, I was dating someone who was from Ivory Coast. And you don't get all of that culture information when they're abroad. But the funny part is, as soon as you see the family members come together, they are, as you say, those trends. There are those families, ways of thinking, those family patterns, and then there's the culture, surrounding that also informs that relationship, because we are all products of our environment. So therefore,
Absolutely.
until I stop and figure out all of this, because the perfect guy might look a little different when I start understanding his own reality in his space, not in my space, in his space.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, I agree, because I too had long distance relationships, and I'm all for long distance. I'm not against them, but they really are a different type of work. They're a different type of, work. It's simple as that. It takes a lot of energy, and it's a different type of energy. And unless you're prepared for that, then you could be in for a few surprises.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I know when I travel, and this is on a different topic, even just for traveling to another country, I usually take the time to find someone I know that is from that country to understand what are the do's and the don'ts in that environment.
Yes.
And sometimes we fall in love with people before we even know where they're from and what their environment is. And then also, then when you come to visit or meet the family, it's just like, oh, wow,
Wow.
what did I get myself into? And not to
Yeah,
say that it doesn't work out, but it's just the sense where there's that piece of information when you're in long distance relationship that is completely different. I have
definitely.
another question for you though. You've mentioned the gentleman square a little earlier, and I find interesting that comment you made about the square, but is that the only reason you picked out that name, or was there something else?
Okay. Well, I love when I get asked that question simply because there is an under, a little bit deeper, if we dive deeper, why I chose that name. You see, I lived in Italy for 7 years in Sicily, in a beautiful city called Syracuse, Siracusa in Italian. And the main old city there is called Ortigia. And of course, every city has a beautiful cathedral, Il Duomo, and with a piazza, which is the square where you have the big, if anyone's traveled through Italy, you'll understand what I'm talking about. The churches are just divine. The whole, the squares, everything that surrounds it is just architecturally beautifully designed, and of course they're old buildings. So in Ortigia we have a Duomo, and I would walk through this square often, and I used to love walking usually earlier mornings because it was less people, but yet it had this beautiful energy about it. But anytime I walked through this square, I would always see men gathered together talking or playing cards or sitting down having a coffee. The men were very connected. And I was walking past and I said, wow, La Piazza degli Uomini, in Italian, right? And I said, La Piazza degli Uomini. And then I translated it to English, the Gentleman's Square. Yes, the square, because men hang out in the square, particularly in Italy. I know it doesn't make sense to the Western world. And then the fact that it was square, it just really brought it together because, yeah, men are logic. Square it. It kind of is, if it fits, if it's not broken, don't fix it. All those kind of, uh, connotations we hear with, what's related to men.
And I find it interesting as well. It's this part where there are so many bias that we have in any interaction, but especially also men versus female. So we come to realize at one point, or we hear all the time, women are about feelings, men are about logics, men are about task. And so, but technically there's a little more to this, but the traits that you might see at first glance are that. So I like the analogy with the square, because it gives them that space to be together, but they still have that bit of a distance where
Yeah.
in women, as women, we tend to want to be in circle. So we'll be closely gathered together, while
Right.
men.
Exactly. Tight. Absolutely. And see, that's also what I found. I do have group sessions, and I also work one-on-one with men, but I do find most men like to work one-on-one. But I am introducing more group therapy because I am also a hypnotherapist. Not sure whether you mentioned that earlier, or whether we're going to talk about that. But that part really working with the subconscious mind, and men are starting to open up now a little bit more because it's non-invasive. It's a place where they can just come and listen and not so much talk or express about their issues, but sit and listen to some beautiful hypnotic relaxation sessions that can just bring them to a different space and a different state.
So now that you've opened that door, I want to know, how does the hypnotherapy fits into the work that you do?
Beautiful.
I'm so
It
curious. I'm so curious. I'm sorry. This is the
No, I love
truth.
it. Because you're right, Paula, there's no one really out there doing this specifically. There are a lot of hypnotists, people are practicing, hypnotherapy. However, what I thought, because I love the mind and I love working with the subconscious, and it always intrigues me what makes people tick, what makes people do what they do. Why are we in so behavioral type patterns? How can we break some of those patterns? Where have they come from? And of course, we spoke about the earlier part of our lives, whether it's culture, whether it's our childhood upbringing, all that comes into play as to who we are as an adult, as to why we do what we do, as to why we behave certain ways. Does that make sense?
Oh,
So,
definite.
yeah. So there's a lot of people, and in this case, 2 men, that think they have a problem, they can't attract the right person, or they're attracting abusive women, or they're always in toxic relationships, and they're in this vicious cycle. I'm using this as an example, right? And they're in this vicious cycle of being in these type of relationships or marrying different women, but finding that they're in the same situation. Well, just coaching on its own isn't enough. We need to change those behavioral subconscious habits or limiting beliefs that are stopping them from having beautiful, healthy, thriving, loving relationships. Because ultimately, if you ask any man, that's what they want. They want to be loved. They want to be in a loving, healthy relationship without the drama. Because, we're the drama queens, right? According to them.
I'm not going to say anything on that because, and I would say on either side, there are drama queens or drama kings. But the idea is we have to take on and accept what comes with certain territory. So as females, our emotions might feel like too intense for people that are not accustomed to actually deal with that range of emotion. So definitely, I hear your conversation, and whether I'm a female or I'm a male, in this case, I know I'm a female. My reality is I don't like drama. If there's too much drama, okay, we need to cut that because drama only creates chaos for me. So I could definitely understand some there. I've had some friends where you realize I think we're just gonna cut the cord because too much drama. It's exhausting. So, and if on top of it, as a man, not saying all of them are like that, if I don't have the emotional range to manage all of those constant emotion, it's just like, I'm tired. I'm just tired.
Exactly. That's what they say. And, I'm using this as a drama, they want a drama-free relationship, because this is a word that really comes up a lot. So what do you want? What is it you want? And they first always tell you what they don't want. In coaching, they're very good at telling you what they don't want. I don't want drama in my life. Okay, we don't want. What is it you want? But the initial thing is they automatically relate to relationship drama, woman drama. So they see these patterns, these thoughts that come backwards and forth. So this is where the hypnosis is just amazing. And I love it because I see results. My clients see results, and they're pretty rapid. They're very rapid. For some, it's instant. For others, it takes a little bit longer. But we work through, obviously, the subconscious mind and removing those really, destructive, I call them, emotions, releasing them. We always, you got to remember that we remove them, but we teach people how to deal with them, because it's not like you're not going to get angry anymore. No, but we give them the tools as to how to deal with it. But we need to get rid of the roots. The roots are so deeply implanted in the subconscious mind that we have triggers. And once those triggers go off, that's when you have the explosion, and you may find yourself again in the same situation. So that's why I really have combined the hypnotherapy with the relationship work, because it's non-invasive, it's rapid, it's fast, and it really works easy for men. They don't really have to go too deep with their emotions, so to speak, because when you're in counseling or therapy, that's what men don't want to do. Don't touch me there, don't let me go deep there because it'll hurt, and I understand that perfectly.
I'm laughing, but it's not from a perspective that I'm laughing at their pain. I'm laughing because I recognize some of those patterns, be it because I do some coaching, nowhere as in depth as what you do, but you can tell, I can usually tell when somebody gets to a point in a session and it's like, okay, we're not opening that door. So it's like physically the whole demeanor change. And it's just, how do I get past that door? And as you say, until they're ready to make that move, it can take quite a bit of time. While with the hypnotherapy, what you'll actually do is speed up the process, because they don't realize that you've entered into that zone they don't want to discuss.
Right. Because we slow down the brain waves to an alpha state, so they're relaxed, and we're basically, cutting through. I say cut through, but enter through the conscious mind. Weaving through, and then weave through the critical mind, which is our analytical mind, and then enter into the subconscious mind, putting new message units, rearranging a little bit, and before you know it, it will be 3 days later, 2 days later, a week later, and they'll be doing exactly what they desired, whatever it is that they really want the outcome to be. It's like, oh wow. And I'll get phone calls and say, Stefania, you wouldn't believe it. And I say, it's okay. I love hearing those success stories. So
and it's in those moments where you're thinking, yes, I know, I believe it.
And I just want to say, it's not woo-woo. I'm not talking about the hypnotherapy, hypnosis sessions that you get in Vegas, that you get on stage. This is not stage hypnosis. I say to people, they say to me, will you make me bark like a dog? I said, no, but if you want me to, I will, because that's what they relate it to. They think they're going to quack like a duck, and it's not that at all. It's therapeutic. It is for the purpose of healing, releasing, transforming, and having that life that you so long desire.
What would be some of the challenges that you might have encountered while working with this specific niche?
Oh, okay. I'd say 99.9 even, because there's a small window of men that most men are skeptic. They're skeptic. They have this, again, the critical mind, the conscious mind is, stopping them because they don't know what they don't know. And that frightens them. We're always afraid of what we don't know. We're afraid of what we've never experienced before. So, of course, that little voice will say all sorts of things, or maybe friends, if they share it with a friend, that oh, this is going to happen. And it has happened. I've had clients that I've consulted and, had some inside calls, and yet they're ready to go. And then someone's talked, she's just going to play with your head. She's going to get into your head. And I'll be honest, that's exactly what I've heard. And I think that's really sad, but that's okay, because they're not ready. Those type of people are not ready. When you're ready and you want to make a change in your life, then they're the clients that I really invite in, and they come automatically, because that is my intention. My intention is to work with clients that are really ready to make some moves.
Make that difference.
Yeah.
And totally agree with you. It's all about timing. And I know most people say, "Oh, I don't want to wait. I want it now." Yes, but certain things, until you're really ready to deal with it, it's not gonna happen. And yes, hypnotherapy might allow you to weave a certain way, but if you still have doubts about the person, the therapist, or whichever, it's gonna come back
Yes,
up.
of
So,
course. That's
and
right.
it's
And
it's
that's
in
why,
any work of life, period.
exactly.
So, given your particular angle and expertise,
Mhm.
what would be to you some of those misconceptions that women hold about men
Mm.
and the way they manage their relationship?
Wow, that's a real interesting question. Now we're talking to our sisters, are we?
Yeah, we're switching because there might be some women out there, and it's like, okay,
Absolutely.
okay,
And
I
they're
hear
not
you.
aware.
But
Yeah, I
how does
think that's a
that
great
apply?
question.
Is there anything I can do better?
Right. Okay. So this is what I've learned from men. I mean, I love men. I've always been around male energy, I think from an early age, even with my brother, and I have a really good rapport with men. And that's probably why I'm able to work with them. I really come from a place of understanding and empathy. But not only that, I feel sometimes women also are not allowing themselves to connect with men.
Mhm,
Okay, because they too, as you said, have a very misconceptive idea or misconception
mhm,
about men,
mhm,
because men have to be macho, men have to be boom, 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 and these men, some of them do have a facade, but deep down, they're hurting.
mhm,
They are really hurting, and they truly want someone to love, someone to care for, someone to grow old with. These are the words that I hear from them. It's not my words. They want to someone that will cheer them on, someone that is independent but yet
mhm,
a team player. See,
mhm,
they want independent women, but they also want a team player. And I think
mhm.
sometimes women think of this independence like, I don't need you men. I don't
Oof.
need you. I can do this on my own. Whereas no, you see, men want you to ask for help.
Mhm,
That's They want you to ask for help. This is the difference. Men want that, ask me, I'll do anything for you. And
mhm,
women want that needed. They want to feel needed. So this is where the understanding between the male and the female, if you could understand that, it's very simple. Men want that desire to be asked, to be part of, to help out,
mhm.
because they feel like as a man, they're participating, they're doing something for a woman. The woman, on the other hand, needs to feel needed, loved, nurtured. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the
And,
women,
and again, when you look at every sad movie on TV, every stereotype, it always comes down to this. I was there, but you weren't paying attention to me. You were not giving me the love I needed, or whichever. And the man was like, "But I didn't know you needed anything because you never asked."
exactly, logic.
And
See,
then
if
the
you want
woman is
something, you ask
thinking,
for it.
"Can't you
Yes.
see? Do I
Yes.
have to tell you?" And that's the part. It's because we don't exactly speak the same language. And until we learn to better decode each other, then it's a lot harder.
Yeah, I like the word that you use, decode, because it is. There is a lot of codes in languages. You've got to understand what everyone has their own decode as well, on top of the main decoding. And then there's all these breakdowns, reframing of decoding. Absolutely. So, yeah. So, women, I think, need to come back into their feminine a little bit more, because, we are more independent, we are more sufficient, we can do without a man, for some, but we want love, we need love, we're a human race that need to relate, and we're not born to be alone, we
Yeah.
are born to be together. So I think again, what are your subconscious beliefs there? What healing needs to be done around that? This is where hypnosis helps with healing the inner child as well, going way back, even way back into the womb, even past life regression as well for some cases, because that healing, you don't know what went on while you're in the womb with your mother and your father, or whoever was around your mother at the time. How were her emotions? Because as a child in the womb, we know that it's all energy. We're picking up energies all the time. So yes, there's a lot involved. I mean, we could talk for hours and hours about this, but yeah, I just love it.
And
Love it.
I love to hear your passion about this. And I have to say, my heart, I have more passion for women than I have for men. And not from a perspective that I don't believe men also need to have the support to manage their love life in some ways. I'm glad to hear that there is someone who actually helps them deconstruct certain things, because the reality, be it for female or be it for male, we usually come into every single relationship, every single interaction with a already prescripted scenario. And until we realize that, until we stop and pay attention to what is that scenario telling you, and is it relevant in this story right now, you're always gonna go back to those patterns, because they usually happen before you even have conscience of what is truly happening. So you're a child, as you said, it's in the womb or even previous lives, and that's the part. So I'm carrying something that I'm not aware of, but I'm seeing the world through those filters. And that applies to both men and women.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's good to know that there are women out there helping men figure out what are those scripts that they might need to rethink about, reconsider, maybe let go of, the same way women will have to do some of that same work as well.
Absolutely.
There's no way any of us get to the adult years and not have already some type of messaging taking place.
Yes, because relationships, even if it's not your relationship with your so-called partner or wife or husband, you may be having a great relationship, but then if you don't have a very good relationship with the children, or it then affects the relationship with your partner. Or again, there's a lot of second marriages that come in with other children, some from other families. Again, that's another dynamics too that needs healing, that needs understanding. Or in some cases where one party doesn't have children and the other does, so there's this readjustment. How do you readjust? And yet you love this person, but it's the children that you can't handle, or an array of different scenarios. But there are all areas of relationships that need to be healed, need to be attended to, need to be nurtured. We need to deal with them in different ways. Definitely. It's a domino effect, I guess. And of course, the relationship with ourselves. Obviously, it all starts here, as we know.
And it always surprises me, and I'm saying surprises me as an individual who knows better, if we can call it like that. There are sometimes ideas that cross my mind, and I'm like, where is that coming from? And because I'm aware, at least I'm questioning. Some people don't even think about those ideas that are getting through their mind, because it could be, I see this wonderful looking man and I'm thinking, yeah, he has to be a player, he's too cute to be a good person. And says who?
Exactly.
At least
yes,
talk to the person, get a sense of who they are. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But the discounting people without knowing is, those are some of those patterns that we might not recognize.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get that too. I get that from me exactly where, see, when I meet people, I'm actually quite an introvert, believe it or not. I know I talk and I'm talking in front of a lot of people, but I think deep down I am an introvert. So when I do go into groups, if it's a social function, for example, I'm not like, oh, I'm in your face. No, I'm just like, I sit back, I watch, and yeah, if someone talks to me, I will, or if we're engaging in a conversation with someone, definitely. And people will often think, differently of me, just simply because I'm not really, out there. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I've been told, oh, I never thought you were the way you are. I thought you were quite, I say, what did you think I was? And they'd say, oh, you came across quite snobby. Like, I don't know if that's a term you use over in Canada. In English, it means like uppity, Me,
We have the same. I've been told that too.
Like me, I'm like, I want her to fly. Like, I'm just so childlike at times that sometimes I have to remind myself, Stefania, just get back into your adult self. No, but this is what people see as an exterior, and they will either fear you, can't get close to you because, oh, she wouldn't talk to me, or she's too pretty, or she's too intelligent, or she's too well spoken. All these kind of misconceptions, but it's far from the truth. Absolutely far from the truth.
And this is for whether you're female or male. The idea is, do I realize those scenarios that I'm playing with my head in my mind and applying to other people who have no idea what you're talking about because you don't know them? And there's just this sense where, again, we go back to those implicit bias. You've already made a decision, but you haven't even really met the person, so you don't know.
Right. And then see what happens. You're actually creating your reality out of those thoughts. And this is where, of course, the law of attraction comes into, because you are manifesting. Every thought is a manifestation of the reality you're just about to create. So, very careful. You'll be very careful. And, I say, even from my own experience, I sometimes catch myself. I have to catch myself. I say, Stefania, what did you just say? Cancel, cancel, cancel. Reframe it. I do. I literally say loud, cancel, 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 clear, no, and just reinstate the new phrase. Yeah.
I do this as well. And to me, this is the part where, for anybody who's listening right now in the audience, just remember, we are all work in progress. Even as a therapist, even as a coach, even as a professional, there are still things that I need to work out in my own journey. So every now and then, when you catch yourself saying something or doing something, and it's just like, where did that come from? Sit with it for a little bit. Try and figure out what could have been your trigger in that conversation, because oftentimes that's what it is. It takes you way back to something you don't even consciously remember, but then your brain is already decided this is how we're doing this, and you're like, but. So my role, and we have to work on ourselves in order to get that person you want. It's also that sense of understanding first who you are.
Yes.
Are those criteria that I'm putting actually the ones I want? Really?
Definitely. I know. I really like. Sorry. Sometimes.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I really like the way you frame that. We are all a work in progress. It doesn't matter because we are coaches or therapists, or we have our own demons to fight. We have our own journey, and we have a purpose, and whatever your journey is part of your learnings. So I always say, don't look at whatever's happened as mistakes. They're not mistakes. They're just experiences, and it's feedback. If you look at it, okay, how can I use this as feedback to do it different next time, to get it,
and to get a better result? Because you don't just want to do it different. You want to get a better result, more of what you want, not more of what you do not want.
Exactly.
And I think for some of us, because we do the work that we do, those are things we think about all the time. But the people who don't know and are not as self-aware might just be repeating the same thing and wondering, I don't understand why it happens to me all the time. And my head is just, but if it's happening to you all the time, who is that one person that is there every single time? Because you have to go back to that common denominator and figure out, okay, what is it that I might be doing that creates that reality? And when you start asking yourself those questions, that's when you start seeing different things. But I want to take you low on a different path.
Okay.
And otherwise it's this part. We could be here until, I don't know, tomorrow, the day after, because I think we have a lot we could be talking about. I am personally a strong proponent of boundaries. So I'm going to ask you, what boundaries have you put in place in your personal or your professional life that has actually created the most personal growth for you?
Okay. Wow. Yes, boundaries. That was one of the major, I guess, learning topics of my own personal experience and growth. And that was exactly setting boundaries, understanding what boundaries are, knowing that boundaries are good. They're not bad things. Because I speak from my own experience where I too never set boundaries. I was very much a people pleaser. So it got me into a lot of messed up situations. I laugh about it now, but hey, it's good because I've healed from it and grown from it. But setting boundaries, I can't express how important that is. And the boundary I think I've had to, set for myself, because I think that was the ideal question, right? What was my own personal boundary? Was really honoring myself and loving myself, understanding that, hey, without me, I can't do the things I want to do. And if I'm not honoring myself, if I'm not putting those boundaries in place that may hurt other people, because I allowed all this to go on for so long, that people just expect that. And the minute you start changing or saying no, or this doesn't suit me right now, can we do it tomorrow or set another time? See, they're going to jump up and down, right? And what I had to learn through setting boundaries, that it's okay if they jump up and down. It's not about me here now anymore. It's about them. Whereas before, I would take on their jumping up and down, and I would take on the guilt, the shame, wanting to fix, wanting to be a people pleaser, wanting to do everything right, wanting not to rock the boat for anybody. But the biggest boat that was being rocked was mine, because inside I had this volcanic eruption that I won't. When I say volcanic, because I'm an Aries, okay? I'll.
No. I love the term, because that's how it feels. It feels like,
and I'm an Italian,
a tsunami taking place within.
So being that Nix, I take so much to then I just erupt. So and that was not healthy. It wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't healthy for the relationships that I was in at the time. And it was all me, because I was creating all that, and I was just so unhappy. So setting that healthy boundary of saying no, because I love myself more. You see, this is what I say to people too, when you love someone, I love you, but always remember, I love myself more. And that's not selfish. I love you, but I love myself more, because you have to be complete within you first to then be able to love and come together with someone else who also is complete and self-loving towards themselves. So there's no neediness, and there's no attachment type style, relationships.
Codependency.
Yeah, codependency, all that, very much. But of course, you have to somewhat come to that, I say, painful point in your life, that breaking point, or where you feel like totally shattered and broken and you can't get up anymore, to then realize and say, you know what, I have to change. I have to do something here, because what I've been doing has not been working. And when you come to that realization, then you know you're ready to change. Then you're ready. No one else can tell you before then. No therapist, no family member, no loved one, no Jesus Christ. Because it's you. You have to make that decision. You have to come to that realization.
And I love everything that you said. And I'm not going to comment too much on this because otherwise we're going on a completely different tangent. So
Okay.
I'll just ask, what would be that one key message you want to leave with our listeners tonight?
Well, I think we've already touched on it with the self-love, and I really would like to leave this with the audience, is don't forget who you are and where you've come from. And you came from love. So you are love. You are lovable and you can love. And I know that might sound all foreign at the moment as I'm saying this, but once we allow ourselves to just enter that space of love by surrendering, letting go, healing, whatever it is that you need to do, it's a beautiful place. And you're only going to attract the very same type of energy, type of people into your life. And when you've hit that point, then you're going to have those amazing relationships without expectations, without codependency, without attachment styles, because you're complete. He or she is complete. And you come together as two completes. You know, when you have this, you complete me, that can be, please explain, what does that mean? I know that sounds really good in that movie, Top Gun.
Yeah,
Remember?
but yeah.
Yeah, it's a movie, okay? It's Hollywood. So just realize that words do have a big play on what we're projecting as well. So that's what I say to people. It just know that you are love, and so therefore know that you are enough.
Yeah.
Breaking it down a little bit more, you are enough. You are perfect the way you are. Don't change for anyone. Change for yourself. Do this because you want to do this for you, not because someone else told you.
Thank you. I could not have asked more. I could not have asked more. And though we started this conversation about providing support to men, reality is a lot of that support applies, or the tools for that support applies to both sex, because we have to learn to work with one another. We also have to learn to start with yourself. You can't just hope for someone to walk into your life and then, hallelujah, they feel the spirit and life is wonderful. Really?
Exactly. Yeah,
Because at one point it's just like, what was there before? Have to stop and think about that.
Yes.
Anyway, how can people get in contact with you or hear some of your various activities?
Okay. Well, you can reach me on all the various social platforms. I'm on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. So my business is The Gentleman Square. But having said that, I do work with women as well. And sometimes couples come to me, and how that works is I don't do couples therapy. However, I work with couples separately. I work with couples separately with their own issues. So then when they come together, they get it right. We really work on them individually. And I've done that quite a bit, actually. I didn't want to do that in the beginning, but I felt that this really was great because one party was growing and the other wasn't. And, can you please work with my wife? I said, okay, but we're not going to talk about your marriage. This is not about your marriage. This is about or your relationship. This is about your individual relationships. So that's how this works ideally, not as a, couples. I just wanted to explain that. So yeah, the Gentleman's Square, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I do have a link there of Linktree, which you can tap into, and it'll bring up all the different social media platforms. I also do have a free ebook giveaway that you can access, and lovely Paula is going to put a link somewhere after the show, I think. It's called 5 ways to make juicier connections with a woman. 5 ways to make juicier connections with a woman. It's a free ebook. It's an easy read, and it's juicy. I know a lot of ladies go,
"Ooh, that sounds very, very interesting." Even for a curious woman like me, I'm thinking, I might want to look at that too. Anyway, yes, we're going to drop it in the comments underneath the post so that you can find it and go explore in any way and share it. Please share it with those individuals who you think might benefit from knowing a little more about, I don't know, women.
Yeah.
Who knows? Depending on and maybe you could tell us about that. Are some of those advice or suggestion could apply to either sex or not? Just saying. You know your product.
Yeah, it's more directed towards a man, I'll be honest. Some of them can go, 1 or 2 may go the other way, but it's predominantly for a man. You'll know it's a man that needs to.
It's okay for your brothers, your sisters, your colleagues. No, for your brothers, not your brothers, your colleagues, your cousins, anybody who needs to know certain things because they're complaining about not finding the right person. Then now you have the first step into that new search.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Stefania, for being here tonight and sharing what it's like. Because I don't know, as I said, it's this part where, to me, it takes a special woman to be able to work with men all the time. Yes. So for that, I say congrats, and best of success in your.
Thank you. And I just wanted to add, Paula, just to your viewers or anyone that views this, I'm really open to even offering a 30-minute, I call it an insight call. If anyone has any questions, if they can hashtag or quote this particular podcast, I'd be happy to offer that to them. You may have some questions. It's not a hardcore sale thing. It's nothing about that. It's genuinely people that want to talk or have a question that they may find it challenging to ask a friend or a family member. I'm happy to answer any questions, definitely.
Thank you. You are generous, my friend.
I am generous. I'm feeling generous today. Lots of love.
So thank you again for being with us. And I am looking forward to us continuing this conversation because I know we have a lot of things that could be topics for interesting conversations.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paula. Really appreciate you. Thank you for the opportunity for coming on your show and sharing with your audience. Thank you.